The following BLTV program is brought to you by O'Flaherty Law. Please enjoy.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Seize Your Business podcast. My name's Bryan McDonald, partner at OnPurpose Growth. And today, what we're going to be talking about is how to rebuild something to something better while you're in chaos. So if you're in chaos in your business and you don't know what to do, we're going to talk about how you can rebuild yourself and your business to something better as you go through that chaos. And I got the perfect guest to talk about that, and you'll understand in a minute. I got my friend Lee Mainprice, the mindset architect, and he's going to talk about how he's done that in his life and his journey. So Lee, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate this.
Yeah, excited to be here, excited to share and connect with your listeners.
Yeah, man, this is going to be great. So why don't you give people a little bit of your background and we'll in your story, and we'll get into everything after that.
Yeah, sure. So I've been an entrepreneur for sort of 23 years. I started in business myself. I've got a whole background in mind, body, and fitness. A lot of that connection came through martial arts and, being attracted into that. And then I got into a lot of the mindset stuff in my early 20s, which I wasn't exposed to in school at all. And that blew my mind, some of the concepts and things that I really, needed to learn that I was only just getting my hands on. So in my martial art classes, when I was a young guy, these concepts that were blowing my mind, I absolutely had to share them with my students because these were like life-changing things, that people just didn't know about, and I was super excited because, I was inspiring and helping other people to improve their lives. So that was sort of, really my journey. And, I've always been inquisitive. I've always been a deep thinker. And, through my journey of being an entrepreneur, it was really about 5 years ago where my life really hit the rock bottom. And you hear about these stories where, usually as an entrepreneur, we're resilient people. We can deal with one or two things, But my life, I'd launched 2 big gyms and fitness chains. And so I was out with some staff members on the launch. And I ended up in a local town where my parents lived, in the pizza place. We'd had a few drinks, we'd had a good night, all normal. I was just getting a pizza going home. Anyway, everything changed that night because 4 people decided to target me, come out after me in the pizza place and attack me.
Wow.
So I'm walking up the road and I'm like, probably in not such nice terms, but go away. I'm going home.
Yeah, right.
As a martial artist, I've had to defend myself several times, but you're aware of danger, and you're very aware of when you're confident of being able to handle yourself. I'm a 6 Dan, so I've done it 30 years, and I fought for Great Britain, accomplished martial artist. So you avoid those things because it's ugly. It's not really what you're gonna be doing. But I've been put in a position where I was just hit out of nowhere. Pizza, boom, tossed in the air. So a person tries to hit me again. So I'm, natural instinct, I knock this person out, just one shot. And then I go over the road again, as I would do in my training to avoid. Somebody else comes at me. So I just literally sit them down on the floor. And then I'm going away again and somebody else comes running at me and I literally push them and they break their arm. So I've walked away from the situation. Probably a couple of weeks later, I get a call from the police. One person's broken fingers, one person's got broken arm. We're charging you with 2 GBHs, which is what's called in the UK, 2 assaults.
Okay.
Each one carries 3 years. So yeah, so this is a guy who's a good person, a nice person, and then just in that one moment, your life just is suspended reality of like,
right.
What the heck is going on, and something that none of us could probably account for, So, and because it's me and there's literally 5 of them, it's their words against mine. So I'm sat there in the police station with all these statements, and these statements are kind of, making out I'm Bruce Lee, and I've sort of, chased them out, and I've beaten them up, and I've done all this, So at the time I just launched 2 businesses. So that was a real challenge, taking a lot of my time and energy. My marriage, I'd been married for probably about 14 years. That was not going well. And from, being together from a young age. So I had that to deal with. So it was a cluster of things, that all hit me at once. Obviously this loom of prison was the real tipping point, and that was probably the thing that really dragged me down. And for 10 months, I had this hanging over me that literally, what the heck's going to happen, because there was no CCTV in the street. And that was my first call, he's like, right, that's going to protect me. So there isn't any. So it's like, okay, what about in the pizza place? Because their statements kind of saying that I'm chasing them out, and that wasn't true. So anyway, fast forward 10 months later, we end up in court. And, this is like the moment of truth. And when you find yourself in these kind of positions, you can almost find like you're floating in suspended reality. It's almost like it's not happening, but you're there, and the sort of fear of it all. It's just like when you're, the movies where you see somebody who's sort of underwater and they're just kind of floating in that. That's what it felt like. The real situation where it could literally, I could be going in there, and then they could be sort of taking me away. I've got 2 young children. I've got 2 businesses. I've got a lot right. And I'm a very sort of, I pride myself on being somebody who's very ethical and doing the right thing. So also the double whammy is I've done the right thing. As a martial artist, I've used minimal force. I've not, gone to town. I've done absolutely the least I could. Right. But yeah, I'm still facing 6 years in prison here. So anyway, so we get in court, and the judge is there, and this CCTV turns up from the pizza place. And this is after the criminal prosecution board are saying, we don't know where this is. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going to happen if this doesn't turn up? Because it's literally their statements against my one statement, So this CCTV turns up, so we're watching it. So I later learned that these other people had prior convictions, as you'd expect, from trouble. Yeah. So then we're in there and we watch these CCTV, and the judge basically sees that they were lying from their events. So fortunately at that point, he's then, well, this shouldn't be in court. I'm not going to be trying this for this period of time, So, at that point, I got out of the situation, from there. Thank God. So, yeah, so that was, a big relief. But it was a huge lesson and a huge fear, because, it could be like anybody. You could be, your neighbor could say something to you, and he could attack you, and you could be on your own. And, he falls over or something, you defend yourself. And, his wife and his son or whatever then side, and they all collaborate. And then all of a sudden your world could be, completely changed. Mm-hmm. So it's a real reality check for me in terms of how fragile life can be. And, a lot of these stories that you hear about other people, and we read about them every day, it's like, it doesn't happen to you,
right. And I think the question a lot of people ask themselves is, I'm doing everything right. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why is this happening? I don't think we can fight the chaos. It's how we maneuver through it is what defines us, in my mind. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, what I learned through that is, through the whole process, there was constant fight or flight. I was probably having to have a couple of large glasses of red wine just to, take my mind away from this. Mm-hmm. And, it's not like a couple of months, it was a prolonged period, and you've just got that in the back of your mind. You're running your businesses, your marriage is struggling, and, it's probably on its way out, and you haven't got that support, and literally probably, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks before the trial, my wife moved out and took my children away. And, and I wasn't allowed to, not allowed, but she thought it was okay that I didn't see them for a week. at a time. So this is from used to being at them all the time, seeing them all the time. So I had all this aloneness of just me in a big house, you know, by myself, when it was used to being the family. So it was a double whammy to deal with, you know. Now that's not normal, but I think, you know, you're right. It becomes about, and it wasn't straight away, it was a period of dealing with this, because you carry a lot of wounds and emotions around that. And kind of, you know, when it's a triple, quadruple whammy thing, you tend to then have this, you know, you're looking over your shoulder. You know, there's no logic to that, but you're looking over your shoulder thinking, what's coming next? You know, my life's in free fall here. What's gonna come at me next? And it's those emotions and that fight or flight of sort of, you know, looking back and being wounded from those situations, and, you know, still living those going forwards, you know, which a lot of us do with our emotions, you know?
Yeah. So what did you do? What did you do next?
Well, it was probably a period, and, you know, it can sound glamorous, and it's probably not, but it was a period of, you know, reflection. And you get into these patterns where, you know, when bad things happen, you know, your mind starts getting affected first. So you start getting the negative thoughts, the distorted thoughts, your emotions and your feelings. And then you start getting, you know, anxious. You start probably getting a little bit depressed as well. You probably start, you know, one of the things that's always got me through things is fitness. That's always been a huge part of my life. And, you know, probably without that, I definitely wouldn't have got through it, even because, you know, what happens when you get these things, you know, it could be something small, like, not necessarily small, but it could be something like, you know, a business failure or a relationship breakup or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and those things, you grieve, they affect you. And then you spiral into these negative moods, and your energies get low, and then, you know, that fuels it to get even deeper and deeper, you know? And not just one thing, but a pattern of, you know, looking back on my life, I then started to question a lot deeper around, you know, my past before that, you know. And it wasn't just a case of, you know, and this is what tends to happen, is you tend to look at, you know, the whole picture, because this is where I'm at right now. And, you know, regardless of the past, you've got to sort of, you know, that's all you've got, you know. So I think the first thing is you've really got to, a lot of us, some of us will wear a positivity mask. So it's like, oh, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
When, you know, that is disarming us completely from pushing it away and really dealing with the feelings of the situation and dealing with what's actually really going on, and then giving yourself the tools to actually do something about it, you know?
Yeah. And in regards to this, one tool that I've learned is that putting on the everything's going to be okay mask actually stops the processing of feelings. Like, sometimes you just have to process it. Like, there's been some things we've been going on with my daughter, and something happened where I felt really sad. And when I was meditating, I wanted to push that away. And when I just felt the sadness, it worked itself through me and dissipated. It had its proper journey. I mean, what do you think about that?
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I think, you know, through life, we tend to, you know, we like the happiness and the joy, you know, but pain is, you know, is part of the yin and yang, but it's often it's not part of the deal that we want, you know. Right. And one of the things that I realized through how I naturally reacted through things, through, you know, who you become through childhood and things like that, is naturally pain was something that I definitely ran away from. And, you know, it was completely irrational and in my body. So it's important, you know, that pain is just an emotion, just like happiness and joy is. And, you know, whatever you've got, the first thing to realize is that, you know, nothing's going to hurt you. You know, it can be painful. It could be a death. It could be things. And, you know, they are part of the natural process. They're going to be difficult to deal with, but they're not going to kill you. And once you get grounded in reality, and one of the things that really helped me as a tool was using a pen and paper.
Really?
You know, because the main thing is what happens with the mind is, and let's say, if you get a chain of things going wrong, then the mind will spiral out more, and it will future cast, and it will start thinking gradually more and more of the worst possibilities. And the problem with that, when you're carrying those things in your head, is, that's draining an awful lot of energy. And, the more those thoughts become dominant, the more those thoughts are going to take over, and the more they're going to fuel greater and greater, distort. I call them irrational thoughts.
Yeah.
So one of the powerful things for me was right, okay, here's the piece of paper. Right. What are the facts? So the main thing was right, okay, is this fact or opinion? So every day I started writing down, here's where I'm at. Here's how I feel. Where do I want to go? So it made me straight away start to get rid of all, the black magic and the poison that's going on in my mind, and then start to really, you weaken the hold that's got on me, and the power that's got on me, and, so using a piece of paper and a pen is probably the most powerful thing, because once you get those thoughts on paper, automatically when you do that, you will free that headspace straight away. So you feel better straight away. But then you already know, looking at what's on the paper, you then, what's the truth?
Mm-hmm.
What is the truth? What am I believing here? And once you do that, you then start to feel powerful in terms of, well, no, I'm not believing all that crazy enough where my mind, because the mind is a tyrant.
Yeah.
If you think about prison, solitary confinement is the worst punishment. And there's a reason for that, because you're left to your own thoughts and devices. And, most people, when they're left for a day or two, and, a lot of us have not tried that. I've been on one, silent retreat, and that was really interesting because you learn a lot about yourself. And so, it really learned me going down to this like bottomless pit of darkness. It learned me to really question about thoughts and how we can really, master those, and not let those dominate us, and until we get to the point where, no, I'm the voice. This is not the voice. This is not true. And, it comes to a point where it's like, it gets like tennis, you're batting them off.
Yeah. I like it.
Mind. And then, after a period of practicing it, it then becomes, you melt those things away. Like you mentioned, meditation is, if you meditate, when, you give yourself that headspace, you're less likely to react to those negative thoughts. They melt further in the background, and, your whole calmness and reducing cortisol, help you. You're not as reactive to those things.
And that's what you said there is exactly key of what I've experienced, is that resisting the sadness or fear makes it stronger. Right? Like physics, you push and it pushes back. When I just allowed myself to experience it and allow it to flow through me, and we're talking about 15 seconds, right? It wasn't a long time. I allowed myself to be sad, and then I realized, I think this is something that you're alluding to, is I changed. I was sad about something that wasn't necessarily factual, and I changed the facts. Right. So when you're writing things down, it sounds like you're observing, what do I think? And are these things actually facts or not? And if they're not, what are the new facts that are actually true? Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, if you get a thought in your head and you attach to that and it's not true, what are you doing? The mind creates more stories, and it builds up confirmation. So then you start looking for things that confirm that, and then it starts creating more and attracting more, and pretty soon you're then in that cycle of that negative loop of fearing and attracting what you don't want.
Right. So you're experiencing all of this stuff. The family moves out. I'm assuming you're still trying to keep these two locations open, or have you lost those at this point?
No, I ended up closing one location.
Got it.
That was just purely, just outmaneuvered situation.
Yeah.
That was just that. And then the other one was a much bigger location. And I don't know about you, it's like fitness is like, we've got a huge explosion of budget chains here. We open that, and then, like 2 or 3 years later, there's 4 or 5 more sites.
Right.
Better locations, newer locations, so we had that. So yeah, even during that one of the periods, I think it was probably a year after, I was, served with a bankruptcy notice on Christmas
Eve.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was obviously a tactical, boom.
Yeah.
Plot.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. In the end, it got to a point where I sold the gym off, managed to work that out of there, and I've invested more in properties. Now I'm in a place now where I've got stress-free abundance. I've got a passive income where I can sit back and do what I want now, and what I've always loved is, I'll research deeper than I probably need to. That goes into, childhood. And one of the things that I really, again, this would be another topic, but when I separated, and again, this would be a whole different conversation, but I'll just touch on it.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So when I separated, I started dating again. So I met this girl on a dating app, pretty common. And anyway, started going out with this girl. She was Latin, she was exotic, she was pretty, and she almost seemed like my soulmate. There was so much chemistry and things going on. It was like, wow, this is karma here coming back for me.
Yeah,
this is my gift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I know it was not my gift? It was a lesson for Lee.
Oh, no.
So after 3 months, this relationship, she completely flipped to be a completely different person. So anyway, maybe about another 6 weeks of sort of arguments and craziness and dealing with this person that hadn't been presented to me from this sort of wonderful person, then going around. So I then, as I do research things and thought, this is, there's something quite right about this. So anyway, I realized that this person had what you call is a narcissistic personality disorder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this brought me off on another tangent, and I read 2 or 3 books. I consumed a lot of information, and, it got me really curious about childhood and how we, nature, nurture, how we become what we are. And they're probably one of the most extreme versions. So that got me really curious about my own childhood and things that I was dealing with, and, awarenesses around lots of different things about me, and, things that I was dealing with that, through all this, hitting the skids, you, like I said, you get to question everything. So I was looking to build myself from, the ground up. So I discovered a lot of things. I went on a lot of retreats. I spent a lot of money. I did all kinds of different things, therapy courses. I'm as proactive as hell.
Yeah, right.
More proactive than I probably need to be.
That's all right. That's all right.
Trying to fix it,
Right.
Yeah. So, there's positives and negatives for that. But, as a whole, it's usually a good thing. So I learned a ton about it. And anyway, through this narcissistic thing, it got me really curious about my own childhood. Now, it's quite complex and things like that. But, one of the things, for example, I learned about me was that I'm a deep thinker, and I get into my head quite a lot because it was protection from my childhood. I didn't consider myself to have a bad childhood at all, but some of my parents were erratic behavior. And, from the ages of 0 to 3, that is the most important time. And if your parents are stressed or there's chaos, then that is where you're going to, things are going to be embedded in you at that age, that development age, which are going to affect you much later in life. So you might be more prone to anxiety. You might be more prone to those distorted thoughts. So, for example, when I was coming through that, I realized, well, actually, I'm a person who's high energy. I've got a lot of emotion and huge amounts of passion. If you see me in the gym, you probably think I'm crazy.
I love it.
But I need that because I've got a fast mind. And if you've got a fast mind, and, people would call that monkey mind, or, you've got intelligence, clever, you're quick. If you don't allow your body to catch up, The mind will cause you all kinds of problems.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So, I've really got to, so why I was good at martial arts, I realized was because I had this frigging emotion inside of me, which was like a caged beast.
Yeah.
So that was, with harness, that is a great tool to have, but when you allow your strengths to become weaknesses, it then becomes, something that is going to play against you. And often, if we turn up as good day, Bryan, let's say, for example, like, oh, you're competitive, you're driven, you're all those things. Bad day, it's like, ooh, overbearing, too demanding, pushy, So
it's the other end of the same thing. It's an extreme of the good thing, right?
Yeah. And if we overplay them and then that comes down to, so what I figured out was going through all this journey, because, going into the childhood stuff, that's deep stuff. And it would take a long time. And it's a lot of trainings I do with clients, but it's sort of necessary, because it's all that stuff that you just don't know what's going on. That's under the hood. That's the motherboard, so we've got the keyboard, which is, all the conscious things, but, until we start like peeling the onion back, we get one layer and then it's like you start to get another understanding and another one. And then all of a sudden you start getting more curious and you're seeing more of these different things about yourself that, are leading you and propelling you forwards, things that were holding you back. That's really powerful. But one of the things I found was that, 2 or 3 things, and this is some of the stuff that I work with clients. And this is what absolutely now I kind of feel like I'm sort of almost like, I'm not going to say it, I'll be careful saying it, but kind of semi-bulletproof in the terms of, being, like what Stephen Covey called. I remember listening to the 7 Habits and, I would listen to like habit 1 over and over again, be proactive. And he would talk about being the programmer of your life. And he would talk about choosing your responses. And even in my early 20s, I would kind of, I would get that, but then events in life would take me out of that and then I'd be reactive. But now I've kind of got to that point where I'm like, right, okay. So, there's a methodology here on how we can, control as a mostly how we feel. We can do things, we can change our state. So, we can decide and we can be the architect of our lives, and we can have, powerful thoughts. There are tools and ways that we can improve our mind. We can have tools which can create us, powerful actions, powerful states, which lead us to, creating what we want in life, So these are all, powerful things. And if we combine those things with tools, habits, because I like variety.
Yeah, right.
And I'm an extrovert. So, I'm not somebody who gets, but my day is like just locked into place, everything. It's a ritual, it's a habit the whole day, so I wake up, boom, green smoothie in the morning, no bloating, no inflammation. I'm creating what I call a flow state in the morning, or in martial arts, we call it no mind. So there's working out, there's meditation, there's affirmations, there's lots of things. And then by 9 o'clock, I'm frigging, I'm floating. It's
right,
like,
right.
It's like, gee, this is like
unstoppable.
Yeah, this is amazing. And when you start to get on that feeling and you start to create these patterns and you have your productivity tools in that, you can literally, you can move away from scarcity and lack and the chaos, which starts from the mind, and especially in business, a lot of people are not owning themselves. They're not running themselves. They're not leading themselves. And when you do that, that chaos, it seeps into your relationships. It seeps into, not being present with your children. It affects your health, and you've got all these things in, so once you start to get these tools, you start to feel like, actually, I'm Superman here, because I'm starting to know now how to navigate things, how to react, how to respond, and how to keep myself into, I call it like the circle of power.
Okay.
So imagine you've got like, loads of circles with the outer rings, and the outer circle is like scarcity. It's where you might be open to depression, low moods, and other things. And in the middle is like that abundance circle. It's where you're powerful, where you're confident, where you're positive, where you're strong, where you're being a powerful creator every day. but you're present, you're enjoying things, you're having it all. You're not just sacrificing yourself, for, chasing the money and hustling.
The best thing about this is I can feel this as you're talking about this. I love this. I can feel this.
Yeah. And hopefully you can tell as well, I absolutely love this. And,
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, when you've suffered and you have been down, that creates a lot of empathy. So, for anybody who's suffering, and a lot of clients come to me and, it's often through childhood, it's not through their own choice, or it's not, we all need help and we all need to optimize ourselves to grow, and that's what I see myself as, is this person that really, helps people that have got into these patterns, whatever it is, an entrepreneur who's, we trick ourselves. And, I was one of these people where you're driven, it's destination. Come on, bang, 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 let's get there, and then you're constantly on this destination. And then, it's only where you hit rock bottom, or you have a health problem, or you something that forces you to change, and it forces you to do something about this, and so, it's being able to, empower people with all these powerful tools and ways of being, so they start to create awareness and power, and, how they can influence themselves on a daily basis to create, the feelings and the evidence of the life that they want.
And so I appreciate you sharing that, because it sounds like you have created a beautiful life for yourself out of the chaos, because I did not expect the bankruptcy papers on Christmas Eve. I didn't expect that, Lee.
No,
you've done an amazing job, and I know you know that, right? You don't need anybody telling you that. So, well, I appreciate you being on. This was enlightening to me, as well as affirming. So I'm grateful for you being on. And why don't you tell people that are listening or watching how they could get a hold of you? Or I know you got a program out there. Why don't you tell everybody about the program and how to get a hold of you real quick?
Yeah, sure. And, as you can see from here, this is my best medium. It's not writing or anything, it's talking, and I can talk and talk and talk, I love sharing, I love helping people. And it's the most fulfilling thing in the world, to do. And, but, my program, people can reach me at leemainprice.com. And I've got a program called the Have It All Method. And, what this is it's like a curriculum, a little bit like, becoming a black belt. This is about having all the powerful tools, and it starts from, powerful mindset, removing the subconscious blocks. And then, like a pyramid, we work our way up to create the strong foundations, because, a lot of self-development programs, and I've invested in a lot of them myself, yeah, we all have, especially as, we're driven, and we're seeking improvement and enhancement, and we get some good feelings from it, but they never get to the root of what's really going on. So you get some good feelings, you get some motivation, you get a bit of momentum, but then you end up back with the same things you're dealing with, So the kind of program that I've developed is kind of like the last stop in personal development. It's going to give you everything that, that I've figured out for myself, and has helped me to go from, like you said, the darkness of thinking, this is it, I'm, where am I going to go now? I'm helpless. I'm at the bottom here, to, creating a life and actually getting out of that, and coming out of it stronger, better, and rising to a place that is a better place than I was before,
Yeah.
So you can reach me at leemainprice.com. I've got a podcast as well. I've got a lot of information out there, and, people can reach out to me that are business people, high achievers, anybody that, that wants to, that knows that, often it's people that are sacrificing in business or their life, and the other areas of their life are missing, their relationship disconnected, their health's disconnected. I had a guy the other week who was like, he got all the toys, he got everything, but he got himself up to about 20 stone, because he kind of figured out, right, I've worked hard to get on this journey. Now I'm the man. I've got all these tools. Then it becomes about pleasure. So, then you become weak. because, you get into these, it's like dopamine, you're chasing these feel good things and you're riding off this status, and this confidence, which is short lived, and then you get into your head, and then all of a sudden you're questioning and you become empty and you become bored and you become broken, So, these are common things and the illusions of the mind that we think these things are chasing are going to give us. But, life is this constant, moving. It's this constant thing of having a new purpose. And, we'd have these peaks and troughs, and we are going to find ourselves in these, in these valleys and, and on top of mountains. But it's a case of, keeping going and having the tools that we can navigate these things without going through as much pain and suffering necessarily as maybe I have.
Exactly. So, well, I love what you're doing, man. And I appreciate you. And I thank you for being on. So, everybody, thank you for viewing and listening to this episode of the Seize Your Business podcast. Again, my name is Bryan McDonald. And as always, you can find me hanging out on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/McDonald Bryan. And we'll see everybody on the next episode. And also, too, everything Lee shared will be put wherever this episode is. So if you didn't write it down before, don't worry. Just look around wherever this is posted and you'll find all that information. Take care, everybody.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Click the subscribe button for new videos every week and download and review us on iTunes. Visit learn-about-law.com for other legal-related articles and videos. Visit our business podcast and video blog, seizeyourbusiness.com, and visit Making Real Estate Fun for real estate videos and podcasts. Call us at 630-324-6666 for a free consultation. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Click the subscribe button for new videos every week, and download and review us on iTunes. Visit learn-about-law.com for other legal-related articles and videos. Visit our business podcast and video blog, seizeyourbusiness.com, and visit Making Real Estate Fun for real estate videos and podcasts. Call us at 630-324-6666 for a free consultation.